Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join the football family. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Neil Lennon and Tam McInnes are with me on this Monday, and here's what we've got on offer for you. Philippe Clement warns Rangers must build up a strong mentality within the team if they want to pick up silverware this season.
Without a really strong dressing room where everybody fights for each other, where everybody's available for the team, you don't win trophies.
Brendan Rodgers blasts Celtic for playing Kilmarnock's game in the second half as the Hibs suffered another defeat at Rugby Park. Derek McInnes insists he could sense his Kilmarnock side would make a second half comeback against league leaders Celtic.
We did get the goal when it came. You could just sniff a victory, you could feel it.
Barry Robson admits Aberdeen fans are right to boo him over the club's recent run of results, with a League Cup final looming.
Played and at times it wasn't enough. Booed me then, rightly so. Do you know what I mean? Give me a bit, that's alright.
OK, we'll give you a bit later on then, Barry. But right now, we've got lots to talk about. You can give us your thoughts as well as hitting that subscribe button. And if you download the app, you'll get all the news at your fingertips as well. So, Kilmarnock 2, Celtic 1. First defeat for Brendan Rodgers this season. Time for panic?
No, definitely not. It's the other way. It's time to sort of batten down the hatches and not let anything out. There's going to be a bit of negativity off the back of this result, but as you touched on, it's the first defeat of the league campaign. I think the overall worry is the performance level, Peter. Obviously, he was unhappy with them against first half of St Johnstone, but then really good win against Hibs, and you're thinking that half-time team talk when they came out and played a great second half. There was a tipping point, but there's no consistency at the minute. And by all accounts, Kilmarnock deserved a win. And that, is a bit of a worry. It's a really attritional part of the season with so many games coming up. And it may flip-flop again between Celtic and Rangers before they play each other at the end of the month. But I wouldn't panic just yet. But you'd have to start thinking there's a little bit of concern there.
Here's what the manager had to say at the end of that 2-1 defeat. Brendan Rodgers said, "We weren't able to make passes to take us up the pitch, and that was the biggest disappointment of the second half. In the second half, we played their game instead of playing our game. I thought we got rid of the ball in the second half instead of passing it, and there is a big difference." So, Tam, your thoughts?
First half, I thought Celtic were excellent. I thought they could have been 2 or 3-0 up. I thought they got the ball in the wide areas. I thought Mikey Johnson looked lively first half, Palmer, and they really should have been 2 or 3 up. Second half was like a game, an old cliche game of two halves. I thought Celtic were dreadful in the second half. I thought they just punted the ball up the pitch. Kilmarnock got the ball wide. Armstrong, Kennedy caused Celtic so much problems in the wide areas. Put cross after cross into the box. One of them led to the Nat Phillips' own goal. And then once it went to 1 each, I think Kilmarnock are going to win this game. Celtic showed nothing. Usually when Celtic draw level, their team draws level against Celtic, they go and kick on and they go again, and they get corners, they get shots, they go and try and win the game. It was a case of trying to hold on for a point for Celtic. Kilmarnock got the goal, and I thought they deserved it, Peter. I thought they deserved to win the game. And there's going to be a lot of criticism, as Neil said there, of that Celtic team. And there's a lot of players in that team who are obviously playing now because there's a lot of injuries and suspensions. But I think he needs to go and try and strengthen in January, because that team is certainly in a title fight this season against Rangers, unless Celtic go and strengthen big time in January.
Yeah, well, Kilmarnock boss Derek McInnes knew they were there for the taking.
Big performances second half, and it was a total reverse of the first half. It was everything I wanted from my team. I thought we passed up too many opportunities before we did score, and thankfully we get the goal. And when we did get the goal, when it came, you could just sniff a victory, you could feel it. But more importantly, my players felt it, and thankfully we got the second goal that I thought we deserved. It was a game of two halves, but in terms of dominance, I thought we were the more dominant team in that second half period.
Well, for a Kilmarnock manager to say that, Ruffy, is a sad indictment of the state of the Celtic side, because the substitutes didn't really make any great difference to Celtic in the second half. They certainly didn't get any kind of spark, and I wonder if there is any kind of spark in this side since Brendan returned, because he has already mentioned he wanted 4 players that he didn't get, and all the signings that have been brought in, you look at them and you're wondering where the contribution is. And I'm going to come to you in a minute, because I might as well leather you now before I get Ruffy's thought on it. Last week, in your usual up and down erratic nature, your opinion, you were talking about is the real deal.
He was poor yesterday, Peter.
Yeah, he's not the real deal.
He was poor. I think he's a good backup. I've never said he was a main striker for
Last
Celtic.
week you said his movement was great and he looked the real deal against the Hibernian.
Yeah, not as a starter, Peter.
Do you know how many goals he scored?
How many?
5.
He was poor yesterday, Peter. He's a good backup. He's not a number 1 striker for Celtic. But I don't think he was the worst in the part. I don't think you're singling him out, but I don't think he was the worst. I thought he was a poor game, but I think he's a backup striker for Celtic. Celtic need to get Kyogo back into the team somehow. Need to play a different formation. Well, they need to play to his strengths because he cannot be on the bench for Celtic.
If they get Kyogo in the team, they'll need to move up 4 gears, Ruffy, because they play slow football.
Yeah, particularly in the second half. You know, I agree with Tam in the first half. I thought they played particularly well with the surface and the conditions and everything. But I just think away from home in particular, Celtic are lightweight. They've not got a physical presence about them. They've not got somebody in there who's going to dominate, you know, like a Scott Brown or even Neil. You know, they seem to want to play nice football all the time, which is great, but sometimes during the game you've got to do the dirty stuff, and I don't think they've got the players to do that. And I'm going to throw the same criticism that I usually throw at the Rangers team when they're not playing particularly well. There are now 4 or 5 players in that Celtic first team who I don't think can get themselves out of a hole. You know, I don't think they've got the ability to get themselves out of a hole. All of a sudden, you've got 4 or 5 players that should be sitting on the bench are now starting the game. So if they're starting the game, the next lot that you put on, the quality's dropping all the time. And that's what's happening at Celtic just now.
That's always been my concern with this group of players is the lack of physicality. Very small team, very quick. But if you get up against them, particularly in Europe, as we've seen, Peter, you know, they suffer. And I was always of the opinion that they needed another number 9, Tom, and definitely needed a number 6. You know, like a Brownie, a Wanyama type, you know what I mean? Somebody who could, you know, manage the game when they're under pressure, like they were yesterday. And I think they lack that.
If it was me, I mean, I'm looking, I think I'm highly critical. Obviously, you get banned when you're highly critical with this mob. But if it was me, I'm looking at their signings, which have been woeful. But if you are in a situation where you're trying to build a side domestically and in Europe, if anything, I would take a leaf out of Martin O'Neill's book when I was building a Celtic side, which is quite simply, if there are times when you have plan A is not working, then plan B needs to be something which can offer, as Ruffy mentioned there, an outball, a bit of physicality.
Totally agree.
You know, and if it was me, I'd be looking and saying to myself, I'd have 3 strong physical, the way Martin built it, 3 strong physicals, two good holding, and then a bit of flair around with a striker who's a number 9, who is bigger, more physical than O, and has an eye for goal. O is not the answer, and I don't know why anybody even perseveres with this. His goal-scoring form's not good enough, and the pace of Brendan Rodgers' side is back to where it was before he left. It's slow. Everybody can set themselves up and get themselves ready for what is ensuing, and what it is very rarely a cross into the box of note that catches them out, because they're all set by then. But then Kilmarnock in the second half, when Celtic had the ball, it was your bank of either 4 or 5 with 4 there, and then one who could maybe get them out in a counter-attack. And they're quite happy to let Celtic tippy-tappy around them. If I was Brendan Rodgers, I'd be looking at Martin O'Neill's blueprint and saying, well, if we even get into Europe, we can do the same thing that Martin's side used to do, which is quite simply, if we can't play through you, we can certainly be physical and win the game another way. And that's what your guys used to do on a regular basis.
No, but we're 25 years on from Martin's blueprint, if you want to call it that. I took a lot from that. You know, at Foster, at Wanyama, had 2 really quick centre halves, at a Samaras as an outball, and that worked for us in Europe, and we were, you know, pretty dominant in domestically. I don't think that we need to panic just yet. I do think there needs to be a change in the dynamic of the squad in terms of more physicality. Domestic, you know, results haven't been that bad. Pete 6-0 against Aberdeen. You know, the really good second half of St Johnstone, 4-1 the other night against Hibs. So they are capable of blowing teams away, you know. But maybe it was a bad day yesterday. Maybe they couldn't handle the surface. And we know how notorious Rugby Park can be. Difficult conditions, but you have to adapt. And that's my only concern with this Celtic group of players. Can they adapt? And obviously couldn't do it second half yesterday.
You mentioned they're 25 years on. He's 1 win in 33 in Europe, Neil.
Who, Brendan?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and criticise Brendan or his European record. He needs to find a way of, changing that. But yeah, maybe he has to look at. I would have thought with him being the way he is, he might have been flexible with the formation, and he can be adaptable, go from a back three to a back 4-3-3 to maybe a 3-5-2. I've seen him do that with Leicester many times, but I just don't think he knows what his best team is at the minute, Pete. Or maybe he does. The players aren't available, and he feels that the depth in the squad isn't there for him at the minute.
Tam, I think he's limping towards the January transfer window, hoping he can get the 4 that he craves. And as Neil said, imagine trying to get 4 in the January transfer window.
He is, but I think he's got to do better with the players he's got, Peter. I think we're sitting talking about physicality. Celtic didn't have any physicality last season under Ange, really. Similar squad of players, and they won the treble. I think they've got to be looking at the manager and say he's got to be getting better out of this squad of players. There's plenty in that team, that Celtic team, to go and beat Kilmarnock. And I think you've got to be looking at the manager as well. I think some of the players are not good enough, but that team, that squad, the money they spent should be going down to Kilmarnock and winning the game. I think Celtic won 5-0 and 4-1 last season at Rugby Park, and they've lost twice this season. So what's the change? The change of manager.
Let's not dress it up. They didn't do well in Europe under Ange either.
They didn't, but they've done better than they've done this season. They've played better football and a harder group.
That did amaze me, Ange, the way they played under him with the lack of physicality that they had. Even in Scotland, they were able to, take teams apart and managed it brilliantly. But then when they did step up to the Champions League, it was a struggle for them. It really was. They only got 2 points. But Tom makes a good point. They did play better football, or they did create more chances maybe than they have done this year. And maybe it's still time. He's got a 3-year contract, Brendan. He needs time to build the team in his own likeness or what he wants. I don't think he's anywhere near that yet.
Scott Brown was speaking today. He said maybe some people shouldn't overreact to this.
It's only one game. It's only one game, and everyone wants to turn it on Celtic now. But there's a lot of strong characters in that dressing room. The manager's a strong character as well, so they know what they need to do, and it's game to game. It's not worrying about 5 games down the line when they're going to play Rangers or what it's going to be like then. As it stands now, they're 5 points top of the league. They're in a healthy position. Yes, they have lost one game. Didn't play too well against St Johnstone, but still won the game. And that's a good thing about good teams. Sometimes you don't play well, but you go and win those games. And maybe yesterday wasn't one of them, but they still had enough chances in the first half to probably score 2 or 3 goals.
So they need to pick themselves up for Feyenoord. Are they going to finish off with a flourish in your mind at home? It's still a team that's looking for their first win in this group.
Yeah, we would like to think the pedigree of playing for Celtic at home, with everything that goes with it, the European football, the players in there will say, right, we've got a wee bit of criticism here. Let's step up, let's unite together, let's get the quality out there and get something out of this game, because Scott's right, it is a bad result, but it's only one, it's not a run of defeats. So you want to go into the next game and you want to, put in a good performance. Just before we get away from it, I think you got to give Derek McInnes a lot of credit. I thought he worked at the second half particularly well. He knew the 2 Celtic fullbacks would be bombing forward. What do? Put 2 wingers out there. And then what's happening is you've then got 2 centre halves who are getting dragged out into wide positions and don't want to be there. And that's when they get done.
You're a big fan of Armstrong.
I think he's terrific, Peter. And I said it last night. Stevie Clark must be having a wee look at him. I think he offers something different. He's left-sided. He plays on the right. He can cut in his deliveries. Exceptional. I think they put a stat on Sky Sports that he's created the most chances out of anybody in the Premier League this season. Playing for Kilmarnock. So, listen, I'm not saying he's going to be playing against Germany in Munich, but I think he's one that you should be keeping an eye on. I think he's had a terrific season.
It's a good point you make. I mean, I don't see anybody breaking into that side.
Nah, Stevie Clark doesn't play with wingers, which is probably to his detriment. But I think he's someone who, if he keeps his form up, he's scoring goals, he's assisting goals, then I think there's got to be somebody that Stevie's keeping an eye on.
Okay. Can you see them having a positive one in the Champions League against Feyenoord this week?
I think they've got to.
Yeah?
I think they have to. They've got to go and win the game. All right, it's a dead rubber in terms of Feyenoord are in the Europa, Celtic are out of it, but they've got to finish with the 3 points. Not only, to get 4 points out of the group, but there's money riding on it, Peter, in terms of a win, points per game, that type of thing for the players. So there's still a competitive edge to it. And I think just for, as Ruffy touched on, you know, setting the record straight, get out there and, you know, put in a big performance and win the game, and then see it through to the end of the month now.
Okay, if anybody didn't think there was a title race on, I think Rangers posted their intent with a 3-1 win over Dundee. For me, it's game on now.
Well, it certainly is, Peter. You know, that was a massive weekend for Rangers. I think they had an opportunity against Aberdeen a couple of weeks ago and never took it. But they certainly, you know, put the pressure on Celtic yesterday, and Celtic couldn't respond to that. You know, it's 5 points. Rangers have got a game in hand. From a Rangers perspective, you're thinking, you know, can you win that game in hand? And you go to Parkhead with an opportunity to go above Celtic if you win your game. So, no, it is game on. You know, a couple of weeks ago, even when Michael Beale was there, you thought Celtic win the league in a canter, but I don't think they will. I still think Celtic will win the league, but Rangers, you know, they've got something a wee bit of steel about them under Clement. They're winning games, you know, and they're not. When they're not playing particularly well, they're still winning, and that's a good sign if you're a Rangers fan.
Yep, Philippe Clement says they have to maintain that strong mentality, and silverware might follow.
That the team showed that they're a team, and I see this dressing room growing week by week in that way, and it's a crucial one. We're putting a lot of attention towards that also, because I know, and it's a very important thing for me, without a really strong dressing room where everybody fights for each other, where everybody is available for the team, you don't win trophies.
Even with 10 men, Ruffy, they still played away and played well and stopped Dundee getting a sniff of hope in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign of a good team, good organisation, you know, and you've won the game in the first half. You don't have to go gung-ho in the second half. Saw the game quite comfortably. There are players who are getting a wee bit of stick at Rangers about a month ago, but now they're beginning to show some kind of form. Dessers is scoring goals. You know, I know he's not the finished article, but he's beginning to score goals now, which will appease the fans. But for me, it's the cup final. The cup final is the one. You know, if they win it, they're going into that Celtic game high as a kite, depending on how the game goes. If it goes the opposite way, then you're back to square one.
Cifuentes, he's going to appeal. Has he got a case, or is he going to lose it?
Yeah, I think it's a waste of £1,000, Peter. I think that it's a red card with the letter of the law. I don't think there's a lot of violent intent there. He just kind of lightly stamps on him. I mean, it's no. I don't think he's getting there to do him. But they're never going to change it, Peter.
Is that a Ruffy light stamp or a normal light stamp?
No, listen, you can freeze every tackle and it can look bad, but I don't think there was a lot of violent intent going in there. He won't win the appeal because there's no clear and obvious error there. I think the referees, you know, made the decision, and that's it. And listen, they're trying to get him back for the final. I think the Rangers are struggling. They're light in the midfield and they're trying to get him back, but they won't win that appeal.
Okay, we'll wait and see.
More than anything, wasn't
Yeah, I don't think there was
a lot of force in it at all, but I totally agree with Tom. You know, it's not a clear and obvious error by the referee.
Yeah, and I think the last thing he'll want to do is miss the cup final, so it's a fast track. Tomorrow they'll decide on it.
No, I understand it. I understand why they would appeal it. You know, they want the lad to play in the final. That's a big game for Clement. You know, and Ruffy touched on, you know, if they win it, psychologically gives them a big lift. But we're all sort of talking as if Celtic and Rangers are going to win every game between now and the end of the month before the big game. Yeah. It's not guaranteed that, Pete, either way.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny you saying that. And again, I want to stick about talking about Rangers and Dundee in this section. But in previous years, people have said, oh, it's going to come down to, I mean, last year, Lee McCulloch...
Not this season.
So Lee McCulloch said it's going to come down to the Old Firm games last season. Yeah, and I said, not a chance in hell, because these two teams... We're watching two mediocre Old Firm sides. I mean, they really are mediocre, and the rest of the league is poor. You know, and I hate to be that merchant of doom and gloom, but it's a poor standard this season. And both teams, you're right, will lose games.
Well, I'm not saying that we can't take for granted that they're going to win all their games. Rangers are going to win, Celtic are going to win between now and the end of the month. That will be the premise for both coaches and both clubs. But like I said, it's not guaranteed. This is an real attritional period of the season. You know, I know that from your own experience. You may be playing 7-8 games in the month, you know, and to ask a team to win every one of them's, you know, big ask. You know, unless you've got everybody fit, everybody firing. and you could sort of rotate the squad a little bit. There's going to be a few bumps along the way, I think.
Philippe Clement or Brendan Rodgers, did you have to, from your own memory banks, did you have to do something a wee bit different, or did you have to try and look and say to the players who were the dead cert starters, I need you to go to the well that day? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you're going to the well whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But, most of the players want to play anyway. So it's basically play the game, rest, recover, because you get into match rhythm, Tom, we've all been there, where it becomes sort of second nature. Sometimes people overcomplicate things in terms of preparation and, post-match and stuff like that. You just want them to eat some good food, rest up, get their minds right for the next game. And that's all you can do, and then maybe sprinkle it with a couple of fresher bits and pieces along the way.
And if there is I was looking and trying to think of the real standouts who deserve credit and a pat in the back this season, from the clubs in the SPFL, Ruffy. And Sima's definitely got to be one of them. I mean, he deserves tremendous credit. He's banging in the goals.
Yeah, well, Rangers are already talking about what they might do in the January window, and he's the first one that's going to cost money. I think he's got another wee well in his contract, from his own club. So I would imagine he'd be top of the list, because they've got him there. He's been there. He's tasted like it is to play in front of 50,000. He's done European football. So he'll be first on the list. It depends on how much money's left for the rest.
I think he's been the best signing. His header the other day was fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're right, Pete, all different kind of goals as well, but he's a man banging form for Rangers at the minute, no question.
Yeah, and of course got that wee bit of pace as well. So I just think that's the attributes you need. He's got a bit of height, bullets in the header. He's been the star man for me.
It's been a great turnaround, Peter, because initially I thought he looked poor, to be honest. I thought, the opening games for Rangers, I thought he's not going to do it. But to be fair to him, he's took the criticism from the supporters, and he's battled back, and he's been excellent. And his goal against Hearts runs right through, great pace, finishes it. Different type of goal at the weekend there as well, so it wins the penalty kick. So he's involved in everything good about Rangers at the minute.
Yeah, was it a penalty?
It is in the letter of the law, Peter, but again, I think it's soft. The two of them are grappling, and they should be looking at every incident now. There should be 3 or 4 penalties a game. If that's a penalty, I think there's going to be 3 or 4 penalties a game.
I think the difference with that one, Sima was getting on the end of it.
He was or he wasn't?
He was getting in on the end.
The two of them not just grappling, two big guys just grappling.
But the ball was coming into the area he was in. I thought that was different for the Aberdeen one. I think Golson had still a lot to do before he threw himself to his ground. I thought Sima, it was a goal-scoring opportunity.
I don't think you should overcomplicate it, Ruffy, on the merits of getting there or not. I think the point that people get frustrated at is the consistency of it. If you are a referee and you're saying shot pulling in the box is a penalty, then it's right across the board. Doesn't matter if you're getting to the ball or not. People want consistency. So for me, it's a penalty. He's pulled his shirt. Why you do it, I don't know. It does go on, but the game's changed, as you know, Neil. So pull your shirt, you're in danger.
Yeah, I mean, it's over-egging it a little bit, I think. I mean, it went on all my career. I mean, I told you I used to, grab people here or here by the, when we were running together to slow them down, because normally they were quicker than me.
Yeah. Why didn't you do that with Kaka?
Tell me. I'll tell you why, right? I was honest, I'd have been sent off if I'd have fouled him, because I was already on a yelling. I thought, should I not? I'll leave it. But there was still a bit of time to go. Anyway, Big Mick, if he'd have backed off any further, he'd have been in the stand. But I don't get all these penalties now, and it's the same in England. It's so fussy, but if you think that's a foul, then give it, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to give it for every other part of the pitch.
That's
that's going to kill the game, people.
Well, the game's being killed right now, and it's not. And it's not being killed by the technology. It's being killed by the people who are interpreting the technology
or the rules.
And Ange Postecoglou called it last week perfectly, 100%. He said they're re-refereeing games as we are in the middle of a game. So what you've got is a situation where frame by frame is slowed down. That influences the referee, and you've also got somebody giving him chapter and verse in his ear. He's obviously made a decision, or he hasn't seen a decision, so he then has to go and get this frame-by-frame analysis, this forensic dismantling of a situation, which, as many people have said, depending on what angle you're looking at it, suddenly the evidence could be damning and the referees get no option, then you've got the pressure of the people watching them saying, you blow this, you're in big trouble. So the pressure is incredible, but it's the interpretation of it. If he's pulled Sima's jersey, he's pulled a penalty. So, but as Neil said, right across the board now, pull the jersey, penalty, free kick, you name it, foul, middle of the park, pull his jersey, foul.
We have this conversation every week now, Ruffy, about Rangers getting penalties. When are the opposition going to learn? You can't do it. So Hearts did it, Aberdeen did it, now Dundee have done it. They've given away a penalty for shirt pulling against Rangers. You've got to stop the shirt pulling. I'm sorry, you have to do it.
Tony Docherty, Dundee boss, not happy with the decision.
I've got to say I'm hugely disappointed in the decision to give the penalty kick and VAR's involvement in it, because I think the image that they presented to Kevin Clancy makes it, favour towards the award being given. But if the reality of it is there's bustling in the box. Sima's got a hold of Aaron Donnelly's shirt. Two of them are bustling, and Kevin Clancy's deemed that to be okay. It gets drawn back. He then gets shown an image. You've got to remember a real pivotal moment in the game. It's one each. It's the 25th minute, and when you come here, you need to try and decisions need to go for you, and that one went against us.
I think he's spot on, Peter. I think he's bang on there. The referee doesn't see it initially. Why you re-refereeing the game? I don't think there was a lot in it. I totally agree with Tony there. I thought it was soft.
Okay.
It's soft. He pulled his jersey. He's going to hold his jersey out here.
You know what, Tom?
I thought it was a penalty.
He's making, right? You know
the angle.
Do you know the one from behind the goal? Mm-hmm. It looks a penalty, right? But that's not what the referee sees, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then I think that magnifies it more into Kevin Clancy going, yeah, it's a penalty.
In real time, if you're just watching it, it just looks as if they're both...
But the point here is, you've got Crawford Allen and everybody getting together and saying, by the way, we've looked back since the start of the season, we've actually only made 3 mistakes. And you guys have to... listen, I'm giving you the way they portray it. The SFA, including the head of the referees, are giving it. The problem with you lot, you pundits, you punters, everybody else, you just don't know the rules. So, in a condescending manner, it is, by the way, here's the decisions, here's why they were made, and this is what we're doing to implement VAR. And if they think they've only made 3 mistakes, we're all wrong. So, right now, we're going to have to suck it up and say, I thought it was a penalty, but from another angle, Tony Docherty doesn't. And people are now getting to the point where there's a real sense of frustration. Now give me your take, as I nicely pull it around, give me your take on the Alistair Johnston one. Is it a penalty?
No, because I thought the ball hit him above the shirt line.
T-shirt line.
The shirt line, I think that is.
You think it hits Aaron?
I think it hit him here. So I think that is okay.
No, it's not a penalty.
No. Penalty, no. It's not conclusive, Peter. It happens too quickly.
I hope if he says, by the way, Tom, if Crawford Allen says there's 3 mistakes, I hope the one Rangers got against Livingston, I hope that's one of them. Do you remember the one McCausland fell over the goalkeeper and the penalty was given?
Yes.
That was never a penalty in his life. And they've looked at it and looked at it and looked at it and they're still giving it.
I think that was out before that. Was that?
Yeah, don't look at me.
Was that comment not out before that game?
I'm not Crawford Allen's team here, but
Neil, I think the 3 mistakes was before that.
So really?
Before that game,
was it up to now 23?
So, listen. At the end of the day, the one thing that I think I would like to see happening is I'd like to see. It won't happen in the January window, but I certainly would like to see in the summer after the European Championships is over. I'd like to see, first of all, a summit with the referees changing their attitude towards the way they implement VAR. I think there needs to be a limiting down of officiating by, readdressing every single thing. I think there needs to be a speed limit on a decision to get the game flowing again. And over and above that, I then think there needs to be a collective meeting where the managers go with the referees and the referees say, listen, here's how it's going to go this season. Here's what we're going to be highlighting, and we're not going to be re-refereeing the game, and we're going to make it quicker. And if the referee can't make a decision within 60 seconds, bang, it's him. But it's the referee that makes the decision. No influence from here, and certainly no freeze framing. 5 minutes later, a decision is made. I think that's the only way we're going to get our game back. I don't know if you agree with that, Ruffy.
You need to change the handball rule. You need to do something with that, because there's so many penalties that get given, for players under just the ball hitting their hand when their hand is in a natural position. The one last week there with Hibs and Aberdeen, where the Aberdeen boy backheeled it and it hit Ferguson's hand. He's hit it behind him, so he doesn't know it's coming to him when his hand's out there. There's been so many. It's a free gift penalty situation. It's a free gift.
Yeah.
Why don't we just not have any referees now, Peter? Why don't we just have 11 v11 on the pitch and just have VAR refereeing the game? If something happens, the VAR shouts down to the fourth official.
Yeah.
VAR shouts down.
Do you know what I mean?
Just out of curiosity, you know the staff parties tomorrow. you
Peter,
started
Peter,
early.
that's where we're going to come to, because the decisions are getting made by VAR.
Yeah, listen, it needs to change. We need change on it immediately, or indeed some kind of summit to actually stop this constant re-refereeing of the game, the delays that are involved, the interpretation of it. I think it needs to be limited and start to minimise when you're actually going to use it and try and get the game flowing again, or it is actually going to get away from us this game, Ruffy. In England they are really, really unhappy with it this season, and up here I don't like to get into the tribalism of certain things, because sometimes if it happens to Celtic and Rangers it is magnified. I just think we deal with things on a game by game basis and look at it and say, are they being put under so much pressure, the match official, that he's getting it from the VAR, who are re-refereeing the game? And I think it's something needs to be done. Listen, is there a title race on? Can Rangers win the league? Well, we know they can win the league. Will they win the league? If you're a Rangers fan out there, if you're a neutral, give us your thoughts on it. Scott Arfield was back in Scotland today. He thinks it's on.
Yeah, it's huge. I think if you looked at this maybe 3 months ago or 2 months ago, you wouldn't have said that this would happen. But this is Scottish football, and this is what it throws to you. And if you read everything that everybody's saying, then that the league was already done. So it's proved to be very, very different to that. But it's all about getting that win and the game in hand and cutting that, and then a massive game in the 30th at Parkhead.
Yeah, massive game. And dare I say it without sounding like a broken record, wouldn't it be great if there was 2 sets of fans there really to let this game cackle and be absolutely, one for everybody to enjoy. You shake your head all you want.
But don't get me started on that. No away fans in the stadium. It's just, it drives me mad. It's one of the best fixtures in world football, and you have to have both sets of fans in there, not just for the spectacle itself, for the players, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. It needs to be a rule to stop the boardroom members and the people who are guilty of this, who are in line in the sand, who have actually killed the game. You need to take the decision away from them and force them into a situation where, and I don't mean 5%, I mean the 7,000 that was allowed before. It was fantastic. Can I just pay tribute to one person that I thought really, really good, and was a wonderful player. Michael Mole's return to Ibrox. He was given a hero's welcome at half-time after his brain tumour surgery. I think quite a lot of people were saying it was emotional for him coming out there. I don't know about you, Ruffy, but even before, I think it was Oliver Kahn who was guilty of a challenge on him when Rangers were playing Bayern Munich. He would have been absolutely top drawer, and he was top drawer even within it, coming back from an injury. What a player.
Yeah, I think the time he was here, he lit up the stadium. He was a sort of a striker that could do the John McGinn. He could turn people. He was very strong. And the goals he scored were spectacular as well. And I don't know, I never met Mirren, but I'd like to believe that, speak to the Rangers boys, that he was a really, really nice guy to play with.
Yeah, a wonderful player. But over and above that, Neil, when you watched him before he picked up the injury, I always looked at him and I thought, wow, Michael's going to need 2 new hips when he gets to 60. he could lose you with one swivel.
Incredible. Honestly, it's snake hips. He had that one where he would come into him and he'd do that, and then that little deft touch with the outside of his foot and roll you that way. Brilliant player, really top class. Didn't like playing against him. He was smart as well. He had that sort of high football intelligence, and the technical ability was beyond the scale. And it is a real shame. Like, it was a bad injury, but he came back well from it and still made a massive contribution to Rangers. And I was sorry to hear about his troubles, but it's good to see him back and getting the reception he deserves.
Yeah, I like Neil's attitude to the professional game. He likes to play against thick players. Same
What's
here.
it like playing against me?
Because Michael was an intelligent player. He was a joy to watch.
Yeah, listen, Neil I played against him many times as well for Hibs against Rangers, and terrific player, scored a lot of goals against us, scored a lot of goals against everyone. But no, just that wee turn, the Michael Mols turn, that was his trademark, wasn't it? And you're right, but for that, I think he just skipped round Oliver Kahn and kind of come down on his knee and done his cruciate. Bar that, I think he'd have played at the very, very highest level.
Yeah. OK, that's the view of all the panel on Celtic and Rangers. Give us your thoughts in the comments section below. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. And if you download the app, you'll get all the news, the breaking news at your fingertips as well. We've got the website, and across our social media, we'll keep you right up to date with what's happening. Got to get your thoughts on Motherwell against St Johnstone. I watched that match. I was there at Fir Park. Sometimes you can tell when players have thrown the towel in for a manager. They haven't for Stuart Kettle.
No, they haven't. That's a couple of times they've done it. They've done it last week against Dundee, 3 each with 10 men.
Yep.
So they're certainly fighting for the manager. Again, if St Johnstone go to Motherwell and win the game, I think Stuart's under serious pressure. I think they nick another draw 2 weeks in a row. They get a draw out it, and the manager stays in place. But the boy Mika Biereth is probably keeping him in a job at the minute, Peter. I think he's an excellent player, and they've got him on loan from Arsenal. They've struggled to keep a hold of him, but they're digging away for the manager. They're not playing particularly well, but certainly, as you said, they've not chucked it on. If they had chucked it, they wouldn't have come back with 10 men last week against Dundee and again on Saturday to get late equalisers.
Yeah, the manager reckons, Stuart Kettlewell reckons the players are behind him.
I think what it shows to everybody is that we're still here, we're still fighting, we're still together. You see them coming back into the dressing room. I think they've got each other's back. I think they've got my back. I think I've got theirs. And again, I keep telling folk, you come into the dressing room, come into this football club at any moment, you'll see how together we are, how much we believe in one another. And that's not just to make everybody feel good and just for everybody to start sort of patting each other on the back. It's just very simply that we know we're going through a tough spell.
Yeah, Ruffy. Sliding doors moments is what you're about to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, the interview is very positive, as you would expect, but he was a minute away from the opposite. We spoke about it on Friday, same as Barry Robson. If the two of them don't get a win, people will start talking about it, but they get the point, and I think it's always good when a manager that's under pressure gets a wee break here and there, because we don't like seeing anybody losing their job. So, no, they're still fighting in there. And but he still needs a win.
Big time.
He still needs to win.
Well, the nature of it is, yes, absolutely, you live and die by your results. But I thought Craig Levein came in, and I thought he was just. I love Craig Levein in an interview situation. I thought he was, really, really great in his attitude towards this negativity that surrounds managers. The pressure you guys have been under. There's a clamour to get a manager a sack.
The job is different even from the one I was doing 4 or 5 years ago. The clamour to get people sacked is ridiculous. It really is. But once the pressure lands in the boardroom, the easiest thing to do is, say we'll get another manager, and really it isn't very productive at all, because it costs you money to change, and then the new manager wants new players, and I just think there's been an erosion of tolerance and time that a manager gets. And
do you agree with him?
Totally. Yeah, it's like fast food delivery. They want results yesterday. If they don't get it, need to change. The panic sets in, or whatever it is, or I'm fed up with this. It's very rare you get a manager with longevity at a club now, Peter. And it didn't used to be the case in Scotland, and Craig's right. It's changed over the last sort of 18 months. You could be like 4 or 5 years ago. You had Craig at Hearts, Tommy Wright was in the hot seat for a long time. But nowadays there just seems to be this clamour to get people out of their jobs very, very quickly. But I do think that Stuart is under the spotlight, whether he likes it or not. It's a 12-game winless run. I don't know where it came from, because at the start of the season we were playing really well, and they've grabbed draws from the jaws of defeat, which is great. But the overall picture is, as Ruffy says, you need to get 3 points. Maybe if they get the 3 points, then momentum will start to change. And fair play to the Motherwell board for not changing them as yet. But the longer it goes on, the scrutiny's going to increase. But Craig, from a roundabout point of view, we are far too quick. The football in public these days, want managers out. It's our livelihood. It's what we do. It's what we love. You know, and you go from there to being out, you know, your wages have gone, you're unemployed and you want to start again, and the competition's just getting bigger and bigger every year. And every year you hear about a new super coach that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, by the way, because maybe we are guilty of it, and I'm going to hold my hands up. We're in the media, whether it's broadcast, radio, written press as well, who are the messengers of the change in people's attitude, which is basically since the increase in the influence of social media, you have a situation where there are some people who make legitimate points on social media, but there is a clamour from what I call a group who...
It's a generation,
really,
Peter, I think.
Well, not only a generation,
I
but
think it's a younger generation.
Some people have got no tolerance, no understanding of the situation, who just basically want somebody sacked without the care, without the understanding of the situation. But the biggest problem is they have the ear of boards who react to their opinion. I mean, Neil Lennon was a great coach who beat Lazio twice. By the time they wanted him sacked, he was a dud who knew nothing.
Yeah, and that's... I think it's a generational thing, and it is social media, Peter. I think it's... there's blogs, there's club bloggers, there's, you know, websites where it's supporters, and they're getting bigger and bigger. They seem to have more of a say, you know, whether that's Celtic, Rangers, whoever, whichever club, and they're putting it out there, and boards are seem to be listening to it now, and directors seem to be paying attention to it, where these, you know, didn't exist 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I think it's a very, very difficult job to be involved in. I think if you're a young coach coming into the game now, you know, you have to get off to a good start. Stuart Kettlewell, you know, he's got to get off to a good start. Stephen Hamill, you know, his first job at Motherwell, will he ever get another coaching job? Probably not, because if you struggle in your first job as a young coach, you're lost to the game. So there's got to be more tolerance, you're right.
Aberdeen 2, Hearts 1. Again.
Predicted that, Ruffy.
Yeah. There's only a couple who saw that coming.
Did you two get it?
Yeah, 2-1. Correct score, 3 points.
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
He took the lead of themselves.
Yeah, by the way.
What a sheep!
What we will do is we're going to have a 60-second break now while both Ruffy and Tam lick each other's arm and tell each other how great they are. Are we stopping now just for the ones they get right?
Oh, just like the
No,
boss.
I think it's the point of a Friday when we were talking about the game. There was when Tam went 2-1. Peter's face was of. I'm trying to.
Incredulous.
Sort of
Condescending like he usually gives you.
You on glue?
Exactly. Anyway,
What did you predict?
a draw. Did they deserve it?
Second half, I did, Peter. I've obviously just seen the highlights on Sports Scene, and the second half they were definitely the better team. I thought Hearts started the game strongly, got the goal through Shankland, and maybe could have been more ahead. Half time, booed off with Aberdeen supporters, and you're sitting thinking, by the way, Aberdeen need to come back and do something here. Barry could be really, really toiling. And to be fair, they did. They got the equaliser with about 20 minutes to go, and then they pushed and pushed for the win, and they got it through Clarkson. So massive result, and you know, it just eases the pressure on Barry Robson. We're talking about coaches. He's been under pressure. You know, he's got a massive game coming up in the cup final. He'll definitely get the cup final now. We were debating that at the weekend.
He said he would.
Viewers, just the element. Rewind the years.
Yes.
Some people are far too quick in getting rid of managers.
Oh, no.
He's got to go. Monday, he's got to go.
Yeah. By the way,
If you lost the game, you'd have been struggling.
about this.
honestly, by the way, these two were had you hung, drawn and quartered a couple of years ago. We
Oh, no
we need to
question,
look
yeah.
back at the tape, by the way. But I did mention on Friday, even with Stuart Kettlewell and Barry
never a
Robson,
shark.
I know, the two of you, you're the most, do you know what you are? After I've listened to you on Friday and I looked at the show again and I thought, you know, he's had, O is the best striker, you know, he's getting it together.
Exaggerate.
He's had all this. He's like
Exaggerate.
this, sack.
Oh, no.
And by the way, could I look back at the start of the season with your Lee Johnson antics? 1 minute he's turning around, next minute
I don't think he was ever turning it around,
honestly,
Peter.
you're turning into the Scottish Joey
He was hopeless.
Barton.
He was hopeless.
Yeah. Anyway, apart from anything else, it's too early to start talking about sacking these managers. You've got to stand by them. Although, listen, he got booed, Barry
Half
Robson, and he's quite happy, you know, for the booing to continue, you know, if he deserves it.
Listen, the fans are just brilliant there again. They were frustrated the other night. I get that. When I've played here, and then times it wasn't enough, they've booed me then, rightly so. Do you know what I mean? Give me a bit, that's all right. I'm all right with that. But they back the players like they do. That's the thing to do. The players are fighting out in Europe for the club. We've gone into a cup final, and it's because of them as well. They've helped us with that. So,
listen, if they win the cup final, they'll be the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Neil will tell you more than us, you know, that's the dividing line of being a manager, you know, you've got to get the fans behind you. If the fans are behind you and they're quite happy to stick with you, then you're on a winner. You know, it's when they turn on you, you know, and again, it's the same as Kettlewell. If what had happened if that game had finished 1 each? The Aberdeen players would have been walking off that part and people would be booing. They'd be booing him as well, so... Oh, good luck to them. They got the win, you know, and now they'll look at that Rangers game with a bit of confidence. The supporters will be going there with a bit of confidence. So it's amazing how it just all turns around in one goal.
Yeah, and the flip side is Stevie Naismith having to come in after the game and describe how he feels after that defeat.
I think we beat ourselves today, if I'm honest. After being in control and for so long and doing so well, we end up getting bullied, and that's inevitably what's cost us. As Aberdeen just started going more direct, we didn't deal with the first contacts enough, we didn't deal with the second balls enough, and in any 50-50 duel we never won enough of them. That gave them a bit of momentum, and ultimately that's what's cost us.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the one thing about some teams when you get through a bad patch, it always helps if you have somebody who can score goals. And they've got Shankland, and Aberdeen have got Miofsky.
They're very reliant on Shankland at the minute.
Yeah,
they're very reliant. You know, if he doesn't score, you know, Hearts, who's scoring for Hearts at the minute? Bar him. No, Boyce is not scoring goals, contributing. So they're very reliant on him. And listen, he might be in trouble. Shankland, as we'll probably speak about, for his gesture to the Aberdeen fans at the end of the game, where I think he thought it was 1-0 rather than 2-1.
Yeah, he gave them the middle finger. It's okay, you can say it. I don't know about you, Neil, just because of the type of people we are. If it was me, I'd have given him a bonus. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like Ruffy. I love fighting with everybody.
He's been remarkable, really, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, every week he's scoring. I love Miofsky as well, I have to say. He took his goal brilliantly, but you know, big up to Shankland. He's so consistent. He even scored for Scotland there, you know, in Georgia. You know, so he's in a great vein of form. And you're right, Pete, these players are priceless to clubs because they are the difference in 1 point or 3 points.
Yeah. Shankland, if you were Rangers, would you sign him in January?
I probably would, yeah. But I mean, again, I don't want to, you know, speak ill of, already, you know, encourage Hearts fans to come on your show and have a right pop and be all Lennon wants them to go to Rangers. I don't. But yeah, I mean, there'd be a lot of suitors out there for Lawrence Shankland, I think, at the minute with the form he's in. It's not just this season, he's been doing it over 3 or 4 seasons now.
He's better than they've got, Peter.
Shankland?
Yes.
Okay, let me flip it, and I'm not for a suggestion you're trying to get Miofsky out of Aberdeen. Is he a level that could do a job for Celtic?
No question. I've seen him live.
24?
I've seen him live. I love his attitude to the game. He doesn't... there's no histrionics with him. He runs the channels, he works his tail off. Everything he deserves in the game, or everything he gets in the game he deserves. I love his attitude. And he is a really good player. I think he's been fantastic this season.
Okay, Martin Boyle scored the winner against a Livingston side that are in danger of being cut adrift.
Oh, we'll start with Livingston. 7 defeats in a row, Peter. They've not scored for 9 hours in league football. 6 games without a goal. I don't see how they're going to get out of this. I think there's trouble behind the scenes in terms of the takeover. It's a real mess. And let's be honest, I don't think a lot of supporters will shed a tear if they do go down, because they'll think they can get rid of Livingston and they can get rid of their pitch. So they're bang up against it, Livingston. You know, he needs to create a siege mentality, David, where, you know, everybody's against us. We need to try and do something. He needs players in January, needs forwards, and they were desperately poor. Hibs. Listen, I watched the game. It was a really poor game of football. You're never getting a great game at that pitch. The conditions, Hibs could have made it more comfortable, had a couple of chances to go to and kill Livingston off, but great result, and that's all that matters, Peter. When you go to Livingston and just win the game, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I feel sometimes the train doesn't come back to the station twice when you've got that opportunity to get out. David Martindale is there. the ship looks as if it's sinking, and there's nothing worse when you've got all the crew all fighting among each other as well. And I think Tam summed it up perfectly. When you've got a takeover that's, you know, just embroiled in all sorts of arguments, it's not helpful to the team or the manager.
I think it's beginning to infect him as well. I think in the interviews you can see it's really hurting now. He wants to do so well for his club because they've done well by him, and he just can't see the end of the tunnel. He can't see, you know, he used to be talking about his players and he's not doing that. All he's doing is talking about off the park, you know, what's happening behind the scenes. He, like every other manager, knows January's a big moment for him, and if they're still arguing about who's getting this money or that money, he knows when January comes his hands are going to be tied and it's going to make it worse.
Yeah, okay. St Mirren 2, Ross County 0. A manager that I've got a lot of time for, and Stephen Robson. Again, he's one of those guys that when he was on that winning run, he was turning around to everybody and saying, hey, calm your jets, there will be a little dip, and it came, and now he's managed to flip it with a win.
Big win for them, you know, they just came off it a little bit. And Ross County have been going very well since Derek Adams has come in. So the home form's been good this season at the St Mirren, and they're back to winning games and keeping clean sheets. So yeah, I mean, he's a realist, Steve. You know what I mean? He's very experienced at this level. He knows what he's got with the players. They're performing brilliantly for him. Yes, of course, you're going to have inconsistencies along the way, and because it's an attritional league. But that was a really important win just to get back on the horse again. Yeah,
always helps when you've got someone who's coming back that you know is a bit of quality. I think the manager was delighted. Certainly the players were delighted when Jonah Oyunga scored.
Yeah, when you're out injured, it's a lonely place, and I think a big mention for Jonah and a special mention to Jerry Docherty as well, who's been with him, and Gary McCall, the strength and conditioning coach here. They've spent hours trying to get him to this level. It's testament to how hard he's worked, and an example to anybody that's out in long-term injury at the club. And he's got his just rewards. Delighted for him today. Also for Stav McManamy as well, who has had a real tough time. You know, there's things going on in his country that's, you know, devastating for him, and it's taken its toll mentally. So I think the two of them were the highlights, along with Thierry Small today, who's waited for his opportunity, and I thought all three were terrific.
And we always look for a manager to be fairly honest at the end of a game, whether they deserve the win or not. He's Ross County boss Derek Adams.
Yeah, I was a wee bit disappointed in the way that we didn't take the game. When we were 2-0 down, we're still trying to pass it, forgetting that the object of the game is to score goals. So that was a wee bit disappointing, but you know, today we didn't play as well as we can do or have done, and we didn't deserve to win the game today.
Yeah, fairly honest. I love that catchphrase though. That's got to be the catchphrase of the year.
Object of the game.
Yeah. Score goals. We're 2-0 down and they start to pass it.
Get it forward.
Exactly.
Bit of sarcasm there.
Back to your point though, but there's many ways to win a game.
Peter, I keep saying it. You have to have another way of playing. If your sort of philosophy is not working or not given there, otherwise you're not going to get something out of the game. If you keep playing. The definitions of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping to get a different result. So you have to flip it. There's nothing wrong with a long ball, or as Van Gaal used to call it, a long pass. You know, to get you up the pitch, to play in the final third. It's just common sense, and a lot of coaches don't have that.
Yep, absolutely, and that's our TikTok clip right there, then from your man. It sums it up perfectly. What about the Premiership table, Neil? What do you make of it? What's your analysis as we've got into a hectic period coming up?
Yeah, it's you know, we're all sort of saying Rangers will win the game in hand and it'll go to 2 points. Like, there's a title race on, no question about it. Hibs have really picked up their form as well. They're looking good. St Mirren, you know, amazing still to be there. Derek's had a great week with wins against Aberdeen and Celtic.
There's a wee gap there, Neil, between 6th and 7th now, developing.
The 4 points there, yeah.
5.
Do you think, Tom, Aberdeen will make it?
Yeah. I think
at the expense of who's St Mirren?
Kilmarnock. I think that Aberdeen will, once they get out of Europe. I think it's difficult to compete on two fronts at the minute. They're playing Eintracht Frankfurt to just beat Bayern Munich 5-1. They're playing them on Thursday. So they just want to get out of Europe and concentrate on the league, and I think they will. They've got too many good players, and I think they've got a couple of games in hand as well over Kilmarnock.
Okay, I'm going to stick with it consistently. Hibs will finish third.
That's fair point.
Yeah.
I think if Hibs defensively are a lot stronger, depending on what he does in January. If they get the defence sorted out, I think they'll be fourth.
Well, there could be a large, there could be a large injection of cash going soon with Bill Foley and his the Black Knights.
I'm sticking with him.
Is this the guy at Bournemouth?
Yep, there's a board meeting I believe on either Thursday or Friday with the SFA, and if that gets ratified, it's he's going to be putting in a lot of money into Hibs, and the transfer window will be interesting.
Yeah, I'm tipping them
to get Messi on loan.
I'm tipping them pre any kind of announcement to finish third. Anyway, here's the predictor. Oh, Tam had a fantastic time. Look at that, Tam. You are absolutely blistering. Ruffy, you're still holding court. I've slipped a wee bit, and then it's Adam. Kerry is in, which just tells you how bad it's been for Alison's 478th. She's had an absolute nightmare. I think...
First time I've seen Kerry on the board and all. What's she came for?
So it's... I think... It's the first time actually I've just realised Kerry's still with us in this game. So that's it. You happy with that, Ruffy? You're still holding out there.
I'm still there, but
you're
experience, Ruffy.
No, you can't beat 2-1 for every scoreline. It's how he does it.
I've got 2 in a row. I don't think I could get 2 in a row.
No, I don't think so either. Scotland lineup for a couple of friendlies. One against the Netherlands, one against Northern Ireland. Is that a good strategy ahead of the Euros? Just a tough one against the Netherlands.
Don't you dare say an easy one.
No. and then against a British style game against Northern Ireland.
I mean, what I've liked about what Steve's done in between qualifying is they played France, they played Spain, they played England. Now they're going to play Holland. These games are, priceless before going into the tournament, and a little bit of rough and tumble against Northern Ireland should be exact. I might go to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I might let you go on your own.
Booed off both sets of support.
Exactly. Okay, just before we go, the English Premier League results, and what a weekend it was in the Premiership. Of course, Liverpool now top. They'll not stop them now, they'll go on and win it. Wolverhampton, Nottingham Forest, Brighton and Burnley all drawing. Sheffield, what a great result for Chris Wilder. Bournemouth beating Manchester United at Old Trafford, just unheard of. Villa storming to a win over Arsenal. Man City just edging out Luton. Fulham thumping West Ham. Everton, who are not going to get relegated, Ruffy, I'm going to predict it now, 2-0 win over Chelsea. And Tottenham 4, Newcastle 1. What a weekend.
Just back.
And over and above that, I think it was great because Mauricio Pochettino said that he really needs more money to sign players in the window. They've only spent over $1 billion, Neil. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you can say that. I really don't. So I know we still got injury problems, but I watched them against Newcastle and they absolutely collapsed second half. And then one of the other games, Man United, the turnover of possession is ridiculous, Peter. And Man United, could have been 3 or 4 up after 20 minutes. Chelsea got back into it a little bit, but they're powder puff.
Yeah.
And then you look at Man United.
Yeah. Will he survive? Will he survive?
He has to.
Just get manager in a month.
He has to survive. I'll tell you why, Peter. They've got the Bayern Munich game. It's massive for them, Are they going to change again? Is all the problems around the coach, or is it the players? They've had Van Gaal, they've had Mourinho, they've had Moyes, they've had Solskjaer. They still can't get anywhere near it.
Yeah.
So it can't all be down to the coach. And if he does go, who's going to replace him?
For me, the problem is not the coach or the staff there. For me, the problem is the people who own the club.
You're talking about what David's going through at the minute. With the takeover limit. That's really difficult to deal with as a manager. And all this has been going on with the Glazers and the takeover with Jim Ratcliffe, and it can have an adverse effect not only on you as a coach, but because you don't know who your next boss is going to be, but the players as well.
Absolutely. And Ange has managed to stop the rot.
Ange is back. Listen, I was disappointed during the week they get beat, but they were in scintillating form yesterday. Should have scored 7 or 8.
Okay. Thoroughly enjoyed your company. By the way, who's going to win the League Cup final?
Rangers.
Listen, I tipped Rangers. He
did.
Rangers.
Did. Staunch.
Rangers, yep. I think we're all...
She said staunch.
Yeah.
That's a fine thing.
Yeah. No, it's a leathering tomorrow at the staff Christmas party. Looking forward to it. We're all going. We're looking forward to it. Have you got your glad rags ready?
We are, aye.
You know how you usually wear some mile-out gear?
No, a wee suit jacket, maybe a pair of jeans and trainers and that, and smart casual.
Ruffy? Will you be all right for tomorrow's
Yeah, I'll
big
be
party?
fine. I'll be brand new. Yeah, I was
When your Piers Red jacket.
sussing out the situation last night.
Absolutely.
He was scouting. He was scouting. He went scouting last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really looking forward to it. Hope Newcastle's ready for us, and hopefully nobody will follow us. On that note, thanks to Neil, thanks to Ruffy, and to Tammy McManus, and thanks to you for listening and watching.